Well, hello, viewers. Welcome to this episode of Learn Everyday English, your roadway to English proficiency. As you can see, we have a special guest with us today, but before we get into that, there's 3 things you can do for me. Hey, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and 3, tell your friends about it so that they can benefit from these videos too, just like you. Okay, we have a special guest with us today, and I'm glad to have him with us. His name is Carlos Toledo, see?
Yes.
And he's from Chile. We met I guess we were both at a Spanish-English meetup group where we practice Spanish and English, and we got to talking, and he has a very interesting story. He has his own YouTube channel and a background, and we have something in common, and we could say in English we kind of hit it off. We had a good vibe together, and I was on his show. I'm going to leave a link to that interview that he did with me in Spanish, but we're going to do this in English, so we'll just jump right into the interview. And Carlos, can you introduce yourself and tell the listeners a little bit about you?
Sure. But first of all, thank you for having me here in your show. I think I'm going to learn English with you today.
Okay.
Well, an intro about me. I'm a retired elementary school teacher for about 2 years. So I have a lot of time for my hobbies. I usually say my hobbies are English language and my YouTube channel right now. So that's a kind of intro about me. But I usually say that there are 4 words ending in ER that are very important for me.
Okay.
Teacher, DXer, podcaster, and YouTuber, Teacher,
Okay.
all the people know the YouTube, the teachers.
Right.
Perhaps the DXer is related with all the stuff that I have behind me. That's sticker, banner. That's related with the hobby that we share,
right.
The hobby of listening radio. So that's my interest in English language. I'm podcaster. Also, I discovered the podcasting technology, and I have a podcast too, and a YouTuber for about 10 or 12 years. When I was at school working, I was video recording different activities from the school.
Okay.
That would be my intro.
Okay. As we say, it's like you got your hand in a lot of different pots. So that's very, very interesting, very cool, I'd say. And I wanted to interview Carlos as well because he speaks English very well, and he can maybe give you some tips and pointers and maybe how listeners can improve your English and learn from him as well, because he's done it. So he's been on the path that you guys are on right now. So the next question I have is, was English a requirement in school when you were growing up, Carlos?
Not at all, because I usually say that in my elementary school, I didn't have the English language because I grew up, I was born and grew up in a small community, countryside, so not English at all. Only I had English when I went to the high school, to a bigger city, and there I had a English teacher, maybe regularly every week, but only 2 hours a week. So the English language teaching was good when I was in high school.
Okay. And well, that was, I guess, another question I had. The teachers were from Chile, or were they Spanish speaking that were just teaching English?
Yeah.
Did you have any native English speakers?
Yeah, English teacher that went to the university to get the degree of English teacher.
Okay.
But I told you, only in the high school I had a chance to study English formally, But they only the most of the activity on classes was just reading, writing, and doing grammar exercises. Just a little bit of practice of. From time to time, the teacher used to talk a little bit in English. Can you understand this expression? But according to the exercises
Okay.
that appear on the
Yeah.
book.
Okay. Yeah, I think we had a similar experience because I studied Spanish in high school. It was mandatory, but it was
Yeah,
Spanish from the book, grammar. I didn't really learn anything. I couldn't speak well. I couldn't understand after 4 years. So it was kind of I don't say total waste of time, but it
yeah.
wasn't very good at all. Okay. Well, when you did learn English in school, looks like mainly you had more structure in high school. What was the format or the structure of the class? How did you like it? Was it good, not good, or?
Well, you see, at that time, we usually don't care so much about that. But it was a kind of a very regular, old way of teaching. Maybe the teacher in the whiteboard writing some sentences from the textbook that she follow, and we have to write down. And I have because I was always interested in English language. That's the only book that I have from that time when
Oh,
I was
really?
in high
Okay.
school. I have the textbook in paper, and I
Right.
from time to time I go to see, oh, this is the English that I was studying when I was in high school. But
Okay.
I think this is a common way of teaching in different part of the world. You see, I've been
Right.
now that I'm on the internet, different groups, I ask the same question, and most of the people say the same. But if you want to develop the ability to speak in English, to listen, understand, and speak English, you have to do it by your own, but now with your internet, with the music you like, and
Hmm.
start searching people for a conversation in order to practice and develop this skill.
Okay.
Because,
Right. So I guess that my next question, you kind of answered that you weren't really able to speak or understand English very well after after learning or studying English in high school, or?
no, no, no. I think I started when I was in my 30s,
Oh,
and
okay.
I came to my conclusion that I wanted to learn English just for communicating with people. And I
Hmm.
remember that time I bought a cassette tape course from BBC.
Cassette
Uh,
tapes. Wow. Listen,
cassette
they probably
tape.
don't know what cassette tapes are. I remember
And
them. Yeah.
yeah, but that tape was very, for me, it's very amazing because you see, every lesson has a dialogue, and exercises for drill, for repetition, and a short song related to the lesson. So
Oh, okay.
until till now, I remember some in my mind some song. Uh, I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be a
Oh.
star. You have to answer too many questions. Everybody want to know who you are. So I
Okay.
listen again and again. So many songs, dialogue.
Yeah.
So I think that was very helpful for me in order to listen and try to produce the dialogue,
Okay.
different dialogue,
Okay.
but I learned those expressions.
Okay. So I guess my next question, maybe, did you ever have to use English when you were growing up in high school or even when you went to college at all, or was it really very necessary?
Well, I think it wasn't necessary. But for the information that I have now, in some universities here in Chile and another part of the world, every student from different classes, different professions, they have to take an examination in
Hmm.
English, a
Okay.
certain level, in order to get the degree. It doesn't matter if he's studying a medical, to be a doctor, to be an engineer, to be, you see, a nurse or a teacher in general. You need to prove certain level of English. I think it's
Oh,
quite okay.
okay. So in
But
Chile, do nowadays do students study English in school and college? Is it a
well,
requirement
yeah, now
now?
this stuff have changed a lot because as elementary school teacher, 'Teacher, 'uh, I started doing part of my job in teaching English in 3 different languages. 'Cause 'Teaching English in 3 different languages, 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 'cause 'teaching Engli elementary school level, from fifth
Okay.
to eighth grade. And also I took part in different meetings organized by the department of the Ministry of Education in Chile called English Opens Door. They've been doing different activities in order to promote the teaching and learning process of English in our classroom. For example, I remember they had a program called Volunteer. They
Okay.
they invite people from different parts of the world to be here for 6 months, helping the teacher, living in the community, in order to bring the language alive to some students. I
Okay.
remember in high school that I was working in Nankawa, there was a volunteer from Germany, another lady from United States. I remember a lady that had a PhD degree. She was working in elementary school.
Oh, okay.
I remember another lady from Canada in another school of our community. But that's changed about maybe 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And from that time, right now, we have English text and audio text for all the grade from 5th to 12th grade. You can download the PDF, the MP3 file, and we
Okay.
have 3 hours a week of English language teaching.
Oh, that's good. Okay. All right. Well, my next question, you might have answered this. You said you kind of really started to learn English because you wanted to be able to, I guess, maybe communicate with other people. Or so, why do you want to learn English, or why do you want to keep improving your English?
I think in my case, it's a kind of personal development. You see, radio was my motivation to English language. I remember this is the Voice of America broadcasting in special English from Washington. Those type of English was very useful and motivating for me. Try to get material in order to listen again and again. So I record it on tape, on cassette, and I listen again. I write. I'm talking about the old mail.
Right, right. We say snail
Letters.
mail sometimes in English. Snail mail.
Name mail.
Snail, like
Snail
the
mail.
little
Yeah.
The animal. I don't know how
Yeah.
to say that
Snail
in
mail.
Spanish. Yeah.
They receive after 1 month.
Oh, right,
2 months,
right.
I received the reply from the Voice of America. They say some material. So that was my motivation, to learn the different program. Well, I follow English from Radio Netherlands, from Deutsche Welle. This,
Okay.
as you know, as a DXer, you know that
Right.
the radio station broadcast in different languages.
Right,
So not
right.
only in their own language, the different language, and the English. Always English has been a very important language. So for learning English, Voice of America, especially English, and also BBC English by
Right.
radio program.
Okay.
But also I had a chance to listen to Radio Japan in English, Radio Netherlands.
Yeah.
Yes, for fun. But a kind of program that I used to follow was those programs related to the hobby of DXing, for DXing information about radio station, different stuff.
Right, right.
That was the kind of program of my favorite program.
Okay. Well, for you, the listeners that may not know, that's something Carlos and I have in common because when I was a teenager, I used to love to listen to, this is all, he's used the term DXer, and this was listening to shortwave radio. We say back in the day, I think there's really not much on shortwave radio nowadays. It's moved maybe online, but it was fascinating back then. As a kid, you have your radio, you hear this distant station from a foreign country, and your imagination.
No, for me that was great. Mind blowing.
Mind blowing, yeah. And you can write to the stations, and they could send you called QSL cards, or like Carlos has, pennants, banners, stickers.
Yeah.
So
you see, Radio Dolce Vele, Radio Syren, Radio RSA. That was from South Africa.
Radio Beijing, I see back there.
Beijing. I remember one for a long time a radio, La Voz de la Amistad from San Francisco, California.
Oh,
They were
really?
broadcasting
Okay.
in Spanish, but they have
Okay.
from time to time, I think every day, now our English lesson with the Professor Bowman. And you should offer a paper, just a small bulletin with
Okay.
information about the lesson that
Right, right.
Professor Bowman produced.
Okay. So my next question is, so you're, I know you're still kind of wanting to improve your English language. What is your process consist of? Do you listen to podcasts, still radio, watch YouTube videos, news, Netflix movies? What's your procedure, kind of?
Well,
Or
since
what would you say
the
is recommendations for the listeners how to improve their English?
Well, I think right nowadays it's very easy to find on the internet different resources
Hmm.
for free, just for free
Right.
to study English. Well, YouTuber, there are a lot of YouTuber teaching English in different part of the world. If the people go to my YouTube channel, you see some channels there. I have a list of YouTuber that I follow for my process of studying, learning, improving my English
Well,
language.
can you tell the listen what is your YouTube channel? What's the name of your
Well, it's
channel?
very simple. The people who go to YouTube and search for Professor Toledo, just one word, Professor
Okay,
Toledo.
Professor Toledo. Okay.
Very, very easy.
I'll put it, highlight it, and I'll put it in the description.
Well, YouTuber, podcaster, podcaster. Podcast is technology that appeared in the world around 2004, I think, in English language. And also I discovered the podcasting technology on a BBC website, Radio 4. So
Hmm.
I started doing podcast. I was started doing podcast by my own in Spanish. And
Okay.
also there I was sharing some of the recording that I get in the time from the BBC transcription service. Perhaps you remember that most radio stations from different part of the world, the
Hmm.
developed world, have a this kind of program that they offer to show a small radio station from developing country like Chile. So I get
Okay.
some BBC English by radio programs. Traditional books, maybe I remember that I had a traditional books, and podcasting YouTube channel, and there's so many very, very good websites,
Hmm.
application. I'm following right now the British Council website. They have a lot of material, courses, and different stuff. Application on my cell phone, on my iPad.
Hmm.
I'm still following every day Voice of America. Go to the app.
Okay.
I choose different topics, stories in different topics, science,
Hmm.
technology, American culture, American history, words
Okay.
and their stories. You see,
Right, right.
you need a lot of time
Yeah.
to
It
follow
looks
this.
like you've kind of made English part of your daily routine. You do it every day, right? It's important to do
Absolutely.
something every day.
I think that's one of the recommendations for the people who want to improve their English. The learning language, I've been listening different YouTuber telling that the more important skills or activity to do is just listening, listening, listening.
Right.
It
Okay.
doesn't matter if you are working, doing another stuff, put your telly and start just listening English, a film, wherever, in order to brain start just listening,
Hmm.
listening expression. It doesn't matter if you are attending, you are focuses on that, but do that exercise. And
Right.
I do it, and I do it.
Okay.
I go to for a walk. I put my headphone
Hmm.
on
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah.
and they have a recorded different stuff, different topic. Also, I recommend the people to, if they have a hobby or a
Hmm.
certain topic of interest,
Right. Yeah.
choose those topic in the target language. Right
Exactly.
now,
Right.
I'm very interested into knowing what's the development of happening about AI, artificial
Oh,
intelligence.
okay. That's good. Good
So
idea.
I've
Yeah.
been listening stuff about artificial intelligence, but in English.
In English.
So
Okay.
you have to choose topic you like. If you are a
Exactly.
fan of sport, baseball, whatever the sport, follow podcasts or be YouTuber in that topic that interests
Okay. Well, that's some very good tips. Yeah, we're in agreement on that because I like to listen more so than anything else. And when I take a walk around the neighborhood, I have my headphones on too. Or when I'm
you.
driving in the car, I may have to drive an hour to Houston. I'll put a podcast on.
Sure.
It's just an easy way. You know, people say, I don't have enough time, but if we can find time to do
Yeah.
things that we want to do, I think, you
Yeah.
know, so you just
You
have to
have
make it
to,
a priority.
yeah, your priority. That's the topic. That's the what is.
Okay, what another thing, you know, I don't do a whole lot of reading and I really don't write much at all. What do you do any reading in English or writing at all or mainly listening?
Well, you see, I usually say that at my age, I'm not going to enter to a college. So only I'm
Right.
interested in developing the listening skill and the speaking skill.
Mm.
Also, I have to read, to write. For some friend, I have a friend from Finland that we text a lot on
Okay.
Facebook, but just short text stuff. I don't
Right.
need for my any purpose to learn how to write. But if I had to,
Yeah.
I ask to those helper right now, like ChatGPT or
Oh, right, right.
Google Translate or whatever. There's so many tools today to
Exactly. Okay.
practice.
Well, I agree with you on that. Well, my next question is, if you had to start all over again in learning English, what would you do anything differently than you did in the past?
I don't think so. Only I regret that I didn't have a shortwave radio when I was on high school because I was living
Oh,
in a house of a relative there. I didn't have a shortwave radio because I usually say that shortwave radios was a kind of first internet for me. The
right,
only
right.
ways I was always very, very found very attractive with this technology that for me was magic to listen in a short receiver in a small box voices. So, but I don't. It's okay with me. I have no
Okay.
complaint about the methodology, because when I came to the conclusion when I was on my 30 that I wanted to learn more about English, I started doing my own job. I,
Mm-hmm.
I was doing searching for information, searching for buying some BBC English course,
Right.
finding people, trying to find people in my area. It's your
Okay.
personal motivation, I think, that I suggest to the people. If you
Okay.
have a real interest, you'll find the time,
You'll
you'll find
find
the
exactly.
resources, you'll
Right.
find the way to reach your goal.
Okay. And one thing I kind of regret, and maybe this didn't happen to you, but I didn't start trying to speak until I was maybe had been studying 2 or 3 years because I didn't feel I was ready. You know, my wife used to tell me, "You need to speak, you need to speak," and I was like, "No, I need to learn more about pori pata, the subjunctive," and I waited and waited, and that was I wish I would have started speaking sooner. But did you start speaking pretty soon after you started studying English?
Well, you see, in the year 1992, motivated for my interest in the English language, I had a chance to be in the United States, in Ashland, Wisconsin, in an
Oh, okay.
exchange program for 6 months. So
Hmm.
it was very interesting for me to discover that the English that I was studying,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was just a few English. To
Right.
be living in the real world, the real English is so different. But it was an excellent experience for
Oh, I'm
me.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
And before that, I didn't tell you that I had a very, very good experience with an American guy retired from the CIA. He lives in Maryland state.
okay.
He was a pen pal friend. He
Oh,
used to send
right.
me letters, snail letters,
I remember pen pals. Yeah.
in writing. So that was very challenging for me because I had to reply to them,
Oh,
and
right. Yeah.
also I started to learning how to write, how to express my thought.
Okay.
So it was very, I think it's very motivating. Well, nowadays, some teachers of English languages motivate the student to have a pen friend. But
Pen,
now you can
right.
have it on the
On
internet.
internet applications, yeah, it's very easy, yeah, to
But
meet people.
it's a very good resource, I think, for learning English.
Okay. And maybe my last question is, I know we met on this meetup group. Do you go to these meetup groups often to practice conversation or?
Yes, before that meetup, I remember that in pandemic time, I was using the application Tandem, audio application just for hearing and practicing voice communication with people from different parts of the world. And there found me a friend now, Jim Oser from California. And
Okay.
he invited me to a regular Zoom group for practicing English and Spanish. So I discovered that group and I was taking part, and I've been practicing a lot and having friends for about 2 years maybe. And
Okay.
after that, also I discovered the Meetup groups, and
Right.
it's similar, the same stuff. The chance to meet with people interested in English and Spanish, you know.
Right. Right.
So I think those groups are very useful. Well, you see, I have found you. You are a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
nice person. We have exchanged so many stuff, and we are before we know each other. We have similar interests. So
Interest. Right.
it's quite amazing to find
Okay.
people in different part of the world, to have the chance to practice the language.
Right.
I
Yes.
usually say, stand your hand, raise your hand if I made a mistake.
Oh, yeah.
You're being so polite with me. You said that I speak English quite well. I don't know.
Oh, you do. Yeah. I wish I could speak Spanish as well as you speak English, but
No,
one
your
one day,
Spanish is
one
good.
day.
No, no,
Well,
no.
I looked at the video after we did it, and I realized I made what I call some rookie mistakes, like basic mistakes, like subject verb agreement.
No.
Like how could I? But I think I feel comfortable. I think I did well. I was happy with it.
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
I
I'd like to
remember.
do more of that.
I remember a YouTuber that I follow start and finish their podcast. Communication first. Communication
Hmm.
first. And I think that's okay. I think
Right.
you and me, I'm not going to get a development of English language. The people notice right now that I'm not a native speaker of English, but I
Yes.
can communicate. And in
Exactly.
your case, it was okay. It's good, you know.
Right. Okay. And that's kind of my goal. I don't want to be able to speak like a native. I never will be, but as long
No,
as I
no,
can
no.
communicate and understand, that's the main
That's
thing.
yes, that's made me feel fine to me, you know.
Okay. Well, I guess in closing, is there anything else you'd like to add, Carlos, or for the listeners that they might find interesting or
Well, invite
helpful?
them if they are interested in the Spanish language to go to my YouTube channel. I have
Right.
a lot
Okay.
of reading in Spanish that many people from foreigners that are studying that are beginner in Spanish language, they send me
Right.
some messages that your video books, video libros are very useful for learning Spanish. No, thank you for
And I think you
inviting me
also
here.
have interviews in English on your channel too, so the listeners can maybe they want to
Yeah,
practice
yeah, yeah.
their English, listen to some of your
That's idea.
interviews.
That idea came from, I don't know if I told you that my youngest son, he is English teacher. He studied here
Right,
in
right,
Chile, and he finished last year in Iowa State a PhD in rhetoric and professional communication, and he's now working in Des Moines City in Iowa,
hmm
teaching English. So I'm very proud of him. And from that communication, familiar, personal communication, I started with the idea of inviting people just to talk about different topic, education,
right.
hobbies. But I enjoy it.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Carlos, for agreeing to be on the show, and you've given us a lot of information, good tips and pointers, and we learned a little bit about you, and maybe make some friends. And again, thank you for coming on the channel, and listeners, thanks for watching this episode of Learn Everyday English, and we'll be bringing you more videos like this in the future. Talk to you later. Hey,
Bye
goodbye.
bye. Thank you so much.
Goodbye.